Aloha, everybody. God bless you, and welcome to today's live. Today is going to be a really great topic that we're talking about. Today, we're going to be attempting to just stimulate your mind on the topic of basically using all the internet and all these different social media and all these different apps and stuff to grow our church today. But really, even more than that, what we're talking about is just really being effective today. Now, what's happening nowadays is you have an online church and you have an in-person church. You have some that switch it up. They switch it up. They go in person to church and they go online, depending. So, what we want to talk about a little bit more today is more about ministering to those who are basically only watching online, right? So, can you do us a favor and begin to share the service right now, or begin to share, excuse me, this live right now? And that's what we're going to be talking about. It's going to be really, really good topics. Now, if you see the title there, it says using the internet, and we put capital NET, because what we as Christians have to do, what we got to do is we got to use every tool we have, every resource, every tool we have as a net to bring people to God, right? You have a car, use it for God, to bring people into God. You have a phone, use it to bring people to God. Whatever it is you got, you use it unto the Lord, right? Now, I believe, I'm not sure if we're having some issues via the YouTube. So for now, if you could just, be patient. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get that going today, but let me see. Why don't we do this? Why don't we do this? If those of you who are watching, let me log off real quick. Let me end this live and let me redo it. Oh, okay. So they just messaged me that the YouTube is working now, right? Okay, praise God. All right. So this is gonna be a good one. So I didn't want to just leave it on Facebook, so that way we could be able to add it to part of our archives, right? Okay, so there's some of you. Can you do me a favor? Those of you who are watching, if you maybe you attend Victory Arch Hawaiian Islands is your church, whatever church you attend, can you comment? Can you comment if you are an in-person church member, or are you an online church member? Can you do me a favor and begin to comment there, so that way we have a feel of what kind of individuals are watching today right now. Do you watch more online? Do you attend more online? Do you attend more in person? Do you do both? And basically what I mean by that is, you are you predominantly are not gonna, or you don't go in person, right? Now, we know that in today's times, we have a pandemic, right? We have a crisis, a worldwide crisis. And as a matter of fact, today we're going to be talking about how to grow the church and the kingdom of God through these different avenues, right? Well, I want you to know something, that just recently an evangelist just passed away. He went home to be with the Lord. His name was Evangelist Philip LaCrue. We had him in our church 2 times. And I've known him since I was a teenager. I'm really good friends with his son. I love his daughters, close to both of his daughters. One of his daughters was with us in the East Coast and lived there with us. And so we love them. And he just passed away, Evangelist Philip LaCrue. And as he was used of the Lord in his time and in his generation to win the world for Jesus, we now, the batons are being passed to us, right? As these mighty men of God, they're going home to be with the Lord. And as they pass, the baton is being passed to us. And we got to take our place to take the world for God's honor and glory, right? And I have a good friend that's here with me today. I have a good friend. He pastors the Church of Victory Outreach in Stockton, and I wanted to have him on because he and I had a great conversation recently, and it was all about this topic of growing the church online, the online church, right? So I'm gonna bring him in, and this is none other than my good friend Pastor Carlos. Aloha, Pastor Carlos. Good to see you, my friend.
Aloha, Pastor Tony. What's up? It is good to be with Victory Outreach Hawaiian Islands this evening, amen. I'm excited.
Amen. We're excited to have you. So, what we're talking about, Pastor, is a couple of things. We're talking about basically, right, using the internet to grow your church, to grow the church. And we know that we're not going to only talk about necessarily the internet specifically, right, but we're talking about using whatever forms that there's a people out there in our cities, in our communities, in the world, and even members of our own church, right? That might not ever go back to church in person.
Right.
Now, there are some people that they're waiting for something to happen, maybe to get the vaccine, maybe right now at the church, they have a certain age group. Like at our church right now, the children's ministry, they meet together and they get led by the Lord and to the best of their judgment as to what age groups to allow in. So little by little, we've opened the church more and more. And I think right now they're at like 5-year-olds and up, something like that, right? So there are some that maybe they have 3-year-olds or 2-year-olds, and they're saying, well, the moment 2-year-olds could come, I'm coming. You know what I mean? So for some, that may be the actual situation, right? So we don't know exactly why everybody's different, has a different reason. But what are your thoughts? And I know that God has really spoke to you about these topics, right?
Yeah, like for me, I think like you said, it's the game has changed. Like, I know we don't want to use that type of terminology sometimes because I don't know if it's like biblical or Christian, but it really kind of gives us the idea like it's changed, And I remember I was telling you, like, I was in COVID, and I guess every pastor gets spoken to during COVID. I don't know, what it is about quarantine. It's that separation with the Lord,
Yeah.
And we were getting ready for our Christmas party, and we were going to do it through Zoom. And, you got to share the vision that's happening. And during quarantine, I was like, man, God, like, I need something big, like 1 million flyers in 1 year type of big. I need this. This is what we do, And then I felt like God spoke to me saying, like, man, like, you're so worried about making a mark, making this date on your calendar, marking your calendars instead of making a mark in this world, And so as I thought about it, there are people that are not going to come back. They're just not for whatever reason, maybe they were indifferent, or maybe they just believe, hey, I can do it from home, and whatever the case may be. And we all, I think, we would desire everyone to be in the house of God, but the reality is not everyone's going to be. So do we let that limit us? No, we don't. Like, and the other part is, how do we evangelize and grow our churches, whether people come in the on-site or they do it through online? It's gonna be one or the other. And like I shared with you, I was trying to think of all this stuff, and then in my mind, it's weird, but in my mind, I got this like visual of like these walls crumbling around my brain, and it made me feel as though like, man, you can't think the same way. The church has to be a church without walls. A church without walls is just what I kept on getting. And it was even a word that was given to us by Evangelist Tim Rabara when he came to our church, is to be a church without walls. And then it was weird because as it crumbled, like, I had to really wrap my mind around the idea that we have to be a church without walls. Like, what does that really mean? And then from there, you know how I get sometimes, my mind just started going rapid, like, and I got all excited about evangelism and about growing the church, and what is visibility look like in 2021 in the church as a leader. And so all these things started taking place, and I think regardless of whatever people's opinion is of why they want to come or not, it doesn't even matter at this point. It's a almost like a pointless argument. Like, we're never going to get to and come to an agreement. Bottom line is, people need Jesus, people need church, so we got to give it to them on site or online. And so that's kind of where we are at, and why I'm so excited about in Stockton, we don't want to build a church that's just good at being on site, and we don't want to build a church that's just good on being online. We want to be a church that's equally as good on in both, and that's like growing two churches. So as much work as it is, I'm excited about it though. Like it has me all pumped up. Like I love talking about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Now, you don't need, because a lot of churches were, regardless of how their media team was before, whether it was non-existent, whether it was really amateur, or whether it was on point, COVID made churches have to work on their media ministry, right?
Yeah.
So at this point, a lot of churches have made, the surviving churches, I should say, have made that transition. A lot of them have. In other words, they put their services online. They've provided a way for their people to give. I have a friend who pastors a church. It's not a Victory Outreach church. He had a tough time in this transition. He had no opportunities, no ways for the people to give online. He told them, okay, just drop off the envelope at my sister's business over there in this one address. And it was just like, that was their method of giving. Sad to say that they lost their building, because they didn't adapt to that, to like dealing with the current situation. They definitely did not have services online. To this day, they don't have services online, and so they just have this old school way of doing it. And I understand that there could be something funny about being old school, like, in other words, like, oh, we're old school. We're like this. We're old school. We're like that. But as leaders, we have to stay relevant, right?
Yeah. I agree. Like, if I'm being honest, and this is gonna sound crazy because everybody knows I'm a total like Apple. I have all the gadgets, iPad, MacBook, phone, like I have everything, and I'm a total tech person. But before COVID, our church was not online, like not even on Facebook Live, not even like someone in the audience doing it. You know what I mean? Like in the congregation doing it, because I felt like I have an old school spirit. They're like, you got to be in church. You're just giving people an excuse not to come to church, So I had that, you know what I mean? I had that too. But when it took place, like it was like overnight, like you had to get with it. And like we have 5 ways to give in our church. You mean, like we already had text to give, you know what I mean? We got on it like right away. And as we knew that this was going to prolong, then we end up purchasing all the equipment, learning it all. Matter of fact, we learned from you and Pastor Tim Rabara about like Streamyard. So now we have 3 platforms that we use to provide our services. Matter of fact, we're currently building a new website so that we don't have to depend upon social media in order to go live. So if you're not relevant, and even if it's a matter of, because sometimes people have a weird way of thinking about relevancy, like, oh, you're giving into the world, and it's not about that. It's about being with the times. Like you have to be with the times. Like, oh, the mark of the beast, and we don't want to ever give into. Well, if you don't accept cards, you're not going to have, people don't even carry cash anymore. I carry cash. I'm old school, but most people don't even carry cash.
Right.
So you have to some way become relevant, because.
Okay, so now that being said, though, you said something really interesting earlier that I don't know if people caught it, but I think most pastors, we prefer our people to make that comeback eventually in person.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, so I hate to say that, but I would be lying if I didn't say that I would prefer that at some point people would attend in person, because there is something special about that, right? That's hard to mimic, So now, but what you're saying is, part of what you're saying, I believe, is we do have to understand that there is now a mission field of people who are not going to come back within the 4 walls. So we got to break those walls down and say, you can you can be a member of this church. And by the way, this is where I really feel we need to step it up in, because watch. In our church, Pastor Carlos, we have online presence. In other words, let me tell you some of the things we have, okay, real quick.
Of course.
Some of the things we do that have to do with what you're talking about is we go live daily. Every day we go live. Every day there's a live. There's something
That's
live.
You know, though, that's amazing. I think that's like, you guys have been doing it for a long time. Like every day.
Every day. Yeah. And each day has its own flavor, right? We're on Instagram. We are on YouTube and Facebook. We also do daily vlogs. Basically, they're like less than 1 minute devotionals, short little sermons, but they're like 40 seconds, you know? We also have we've archived our sermons and also our testimonies, people's life stories, also dramas, things like that, right? Also, too, we have, of course, our website. We also have our prayer team. What they do is when people are like commenting and say, pray for me on this, pray for me on that, they're praying for them. They're aware of who's saying what, and they're praying for them. We have the follow-up and newcomers team that's assigned to watching who's new and attempting to build a relationship with them, even online, right? We have the band app that we use for calendar. We have Zoom that we use for live groups, meetings, and trainings. However, that being said, you can have Zoom live groups. You could have live services. You could say, hey, I'm glad you watched online. Hey, this is the way you could give online. But you know what? That's not even what you're talking about. You're going deeper with it.
I knew you were going to say that too. Like, I was waiting for you to say it because I knew it was coming. Like, you built it, like, and I knew that's what you were going to say. And I was right before you said that, like, I was going to say almost something similar. So that's what's cool. Like, we're like right here right now.
Yeah.
Because that's far from what we're saying. You know what I mean?
That's not at all what we're talking about. Like, put it this way. We're doing all that. And to some people, it may be impressive. That may be like, dang, you guys are doing it a lot. And I'm like, nah, what Pastor Carlos is talking about, we're not doing it. We're not tapped into that yet.
Yeah.
This is what I'm hoping, that this will stimulate our leadership and our church members to really look at that whole community of people, saved and unsaved, and really look at them as like a mission field and say to ourselves, you know what? We have to figure out a way to reach them, teach them, train them, and send them. They got to be disciples.
Yeah.
They got to be all these things. So what are some things that you guys are doing and that you just put in your heart?
I think, like, for example, like what you said is so true, though. A lot of times we think because we're on Facebook and YouTube, like, we're relevant now. And I think that's good. But the one thing, like you just said, like, we're called to make disciples. Like, we're called to grow our church. Like, you know, when you look at the book of Acts, like, it was, man, if they were alive today, they'd have a banging church, even during the pandemic, for sure. Yeah. They could have pioneered in the beginning of January, and right now would have at least 2,000 members.
Well, as bad as how life is today, they had it worse because they were being killed just to preach Jesus. Yeah. They were being put in prison just for preaching.
Exactly. That's so crazy. It's like phenomenal how they did it. And it's like when you were in the Old Testament, or when you were before the Acts, you look to Acts to happen. And us as the church, we should be looking back to Acts to see what we should be doing. It's our model. Like, it's the most persecution and the way of team ministry and fasting and being prayer and being led by the Spirit of God and thinking outside the box. How did they grow, 2,000, 3,000, and then them all be on the same page, like, and evangelize still? So if we're online, like, I feel like our church is online. We have a pretty strong internet presence, but that's not even what I'm not okay. I'm not satisfied with that. Basically, I barely caught up to 2021. Like, I should have already been beyond that. And I have a conviction for that. Like, I feel like.
Okay, so there's some people watching, Pastor Los, that they don't even share the services. Okay. They watch.
Dude, this is crazy. Okay, I'm gonna show you this thing.
That's crazy.
And I don't usually do this until I've already read it all. But this book right here, The Virtual Missionary, The Power of Your Digital Testimony.
Say that again, The Virtual Missionary?
Oh man, this book is bad too. And it talks about, like, it even tells you in one of the courage to hit the share button. Like that's a chapter in the book. Like, we did a test, right? I have the video. It takes 7 seconds to share your feed to your people, like your story. And that's what I was telling my church. Like, I don't know if we're about to go into this right now, but we started this thing. Okay, so God gave me this idea, right? We talk about evangelism. And then you say, well, we got to evangelize online. And when you don't have an identity for something, it's hard to capture it or to understand it. That's why our ministry has the vision, the 3 C's, the 5 E's. We have we put something in front of you, we give it identity, values, principles, whatever. The gang, new gen. So when we look at evangelism, our mind can't think beyond the streets. Like, we think rallies, we think flyer, we can't think beyond. So when we got to evangelize online, people don't grasp it because they keep on thinking evangelism the way that we've always done it. So we came up with and I looked. I took you. I don't know if you remember, Pastor Tony, but it took me a minute to get to this place, right? But remember, I was looking for a word. I thought virtual evangelism, viral, and I thought virtual sounds like old. Like, I feel like I'm an old guy trying to sound young, So then I searched through Urban Dictionary, and we came up with a term called W3 evangelism, which is World Wide Web evangelism. W3 sounds better than World Wide Web. And the definition is the spreading of the Christian gospel through the use of the World Wide Web, using various tactics to preach or personally witness. To me, this is powerful because we have to think beyond what we've ever been taught. And this is why how we see like Pastor Sonny, and he starts talking, he preaches, and we get so blown away by what he says. It's because he's led by the Spirit of God. Like, he is Holy Spirit led. That's why he has that apostolic gifting. Like, and we can have the same thing to the degree if you and I and everybody else as believers would be led by the Spirit of God. The Spirit of God would crack down those walls and be like, this is what you're going to do, and be led by the Spirit of God. So our thing was like, we did like a thing called Online Fire. Basically, it was a rally, but online. We had Z, we had our rappers, we had our guys, and we did that, right? And it was crazy because we had a group of people in the sanctuary just on the computers and the phones, like witnessing, throwing on the sinner's prayer, inviting them to the church, connecting with them. So you have all these people typing and witnessing and evangelizing while they're doing the rally. And I told our church, your job is not to come on here and watch a show. Your job is to hit the share button, send it to your family, send it to your cousin, send it to someone that's hurting. Because every one of us get a notification. Like, I got a notification that you go live. Every time you go live, your church goes live, I get a notification. Every time my name is mentioned, I get a notification. And everybody, by instinct now, today, cannot help but look at their notification. You can't help it. It's like when you were a drug addict, you couldn't help but if there was weed on the table, you would smoke it. Like, it would be no way you could get away from it. It's the same thing now. Like, it's like you have an urge to look at that notification. And so that was the goal, was like to share the button. But people, it's crazy that we're so selfish that we can't take 7 seconds to hit a share button and post it to a family.
Pastor Carlos, what I was thinking about was because the OGs, the older folks, and in this sense, I'm not talking about us. I know we're older to them, but the ones that are even older than us, the first wavers, right? Yeah. We have 3 waves. We're part of the second wave. So the first wavers, they really think highly of the third wave. Second wavers, we think highly of the third wave too. But this is what everybody thinks of them, that they're all techie, that they all know how to do their gadgets, that they all, they know how to use their phone at age 2. You know what I mean? And they say, oh, my kid knows how to go on YouTube and he's only 3. You know what I mean? They're like, so they think that the third wavers are going to take the media to another level and really make an impact the way you're talking about. But just simply having a phone and taking selfies and going on Instagram doesn't mean you're gonna make the conversion of being a worldwide witness on the web. You know what I mean? You have to be intentional. And not only that, but when I think about our guys that do the media ministry, I think about guys like John Chung. I think about guys like Tim Brenner. These guys are awesome at what they do, but they have discipline. Like, they put a lot of work into what they do. So what you're talking about when you're saying it's almost like we have to pastor two churches now.
Yes.
In-person church and the online church. So it's almost like you need a whole staff and team for the in-person church, and you need another staff and team for the online church, right? But the thing is that it takes consistency. It takes really being on it. You know what I mean? Like, really having the like valuing these little things, you know, like knowing, like following. Okay, like when I had the privilege, as you know, of being part of that revival of God's Anointed Now generation.
Yeah.
We didn't just attend gang night. Gang night went from 15 people all the way to about 800 people. But you know what? When someone was missing, we knew they weren't there. We would almost have, like, actually, there was seasons where we literally had roll call as leaders. Like, I had about 100 people under me, and I had their names, and I'm looking to see if they're here, if they made it. And if they weren't here, I'm going to check to see how they're doing, what happened. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to be concerned that they weren't there, because what happened? It allows you to pray for them. It allows you to minister to them. It allows you to disciple them. It allows you to intervene. Well, if you're part of the online church, we can easily not notice. Like, I'm up there preaching, you're up there preaching Sunday. Like, we don't really know what's happening. Like, if the Holy Spirit is getting a hold of their lives, or they're getting further from God, or are they having marital problems, or is their kid stressing them out? Did they cry all night last night from a heartache? We don't know all the details like that. And usually when you're in person, all you got to do is stick around a little bit after church and talk to the nearest leader, talk to the nearest woman of God, pastor's wife, the pastor, the gang leader, the gang girl leader, your old home director. And the thing is that there's all this ministering that goes on within the church walls, and we have to have almost systems in place led by people who really value it and are going to be committed to making sure that everything that goes on in the in-person church is happening in the online church.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of like, you know, we had a strategy meeting, right? Afterwards with our leadership, and I put these big old pads, yellow pads, on the table. And I said, okay, these are the ministries that are going to be here, here, and here, whatever one you want to do. And we need to strategize is how do we provide an online church? Some said we're going to do worship services like, you know, on this day, and with the kids gang, we'll do this, and we're going to do that on a separate day. We did blessed baking, and we're going to do, like, we even have online greeters and ushers. So when someone's singing, we tell, oh, this is so-and-so, they're part of our worship team. This is Pastor so-and-so, and if you need prayer. And then just to be honest with you, I know people think this is weird, but I don't know where I learned it from or where I caught it, but I engage with my congregation when I preach. Like, I really do. Like, I don't know if they really notice, but like, they'll be typing and my Facebook is on while I'm preaching. So I'm watching it and reading it while I'm preaching.
I love it.
And someone says something, I'll repeat it. I'll be like, you know, you're right, so-and-so, and I'll repeat what they said. Because you have to engage them. Like, you know, you have to like engage those people. And that's why we have to look at like the evangelism.
Intentional engagement.
Yeah, it's a strategy. It's a strategy of like, how do I make it? Because how do you? I know some people, and I don't have, to be honest with you, 1,500 friends I can call every day, but I got 1,500 friends on Facebook or 1,500 friends on Instagram and I don't even really know you, but somehow you've tapped into my life, and somehow I engage. Like on my birthday, I'll reply back to 75 text messages or post one at a time. Thank you so much. And I try to do a different one for every person. It's about engagement, but not only to the church member, but to the lost.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing that we don't understand. Like, my wife's cousin, they know I'm a pastor, and I didn't really like, they weren't really like, oh, all cool. Like, not that they weren't cool, but like they loved us. But that pastor role wasn't really ever recognized, except for with one cousin. But now her cousin watches every single service. I'll acknowledge her. I acknowledge people, whatever. But she was lost, completely lost. And now we have people that have joined our church from different cities that now give. So I was like, we can't think the same way anymore. Like, there's just no way, Pastor. Like to me, I've figured like the rules are off. like, hey, like, let's just go. Like right now in this time, you can try anything and no one's going to hate on you if it doesn't work out, because yours didn't work out last week anyway. And what didn't work out for you is going to work out for me. And what doesn't work out for me works out for you. And right now is the time to be spirit-led and to really give it a go. Like I created these signs for our rallies. And they're like 2 by 3 foot signs of like logos, Facebook, and even a QR code, so that when you're driving by, you can actually like QR code it and go to our site or go to the rally that we're at. Like, because people may drive by because they don't want to stand at your rally no more.
Yeah, because nowadays you're gonna have to promote not just your address, like your what is it called, like the building address, but your social media address. You got to push that now.
Matter of fact, I think your social media address is even more important than your physical address.
Because they could get the physical address from your social media address.
Basically. Yeah, they can get it from Google, press the button, get directions. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But if they don't know where you're at online, it's almost like you're lost. Like, yeah. And I think it's a matter of like, man, like for example, this month we have 2 things that we're doing for evangelism online. You know what I mean? Like, we have a rally, and then we're gonna have a like a testimony story interview, right? But here's the thing: we didn't stop hitting the streets. Matter of fact, last time we did an online fire, and right after that online fire, we went to the streets to go do extreme evangelism. Nice. Like, we're not doing one or the other.
Correct. Yeah.
Both. You know what I mean? Like,
nor are we trying to accommodate those who, because let's be honest here too, the enemy is trying to use this pandemic to keep people isolated. Because that's one of the enemy's strategy. Remember Legion? He was he's the epitome of what Satan wants to do to someone. He was possessed by a couple thousand demons, and he was isolated somewhere by himself, cutting himself and hurting himself. See, we don't want to use this to make. It's not like we're trying to say, if you're running from the Lord and running from commitment, and that's a different situation, right? If you're sincerely, you're of an age that you don't want to expose yourself, or you're a caregiver to someone that you don't want to expose to this virus and everything. And really, it's like the Lord knows that if everything was different, you would be at church, right? Okay, well, that's different. God sees that. Now we as shepherds have to shepherd them and lead them. And this is the thing. I was very careful in even how to word some things, because I was thinking about, like, we want to figure out, one of the things I thought of, it was, we want to figure out how to better serve them. But I didn't really like that, because then now they're just sitting there and we're serving them. And guess what? That's not the will of God.
No.
They got to be serving. So in actuality, I want to talk to you online community people that you're watching right now. In actuality, you got to be involved.
Yeah.
And I'm not, and if you're not in person, get involved online. That means you got to get involved with this. You should be a online greeter. You
Yeah.
should be an online prayer, intercessor. You should be an online, counselor. You should be a person that's interacting with new people. You should be like doing online rallies with us, right?
Yeah, and I think that the crazy thing about it, Pastor Tony, is like, what's crazy is that, like, I told a leader, look, whether you want to be on site or you want to be online, you can still lead. Visibility, a visible leader was that you were present. And we're never going to get away from being present visibly, like physically. And I thank God for the leaders that I have in our church that have stepped up and came into, I got some good rocking leaders that have stepped up during this pandemic and during this quarantine. But I told somebody else, productivity and effectiveness equals visibility. You can be online and produce something and be effective for the kids gang or for the older generation. And if it's effective and it's producing fruit, then you're a leader. I'm not going to say you're not a leader because I can't see you. Like, of course you got to be above reproach. And of course I got to have a relationship with you, but it has to start somewhere. Like right now, one of the sisters in the church, she's an online greeter right now. And she hadn't been coming to the church for a while, but I know she loves the ministry. I know she loves the Lord. And this is the way to get her plugged back in. So today, and they're chiming away and they're greeting everybody online. But I think the other thing is not only is there a responsibility on behalf of the online community of believers, but I believe we also have a responsibility as pastors and as leaders to pave a way for them to have it. When they're ready, do we have a place for them to get involved in? Mm-hmm. Like, if let's say you didn't want to come to the building, but you have a powerful testimony, and you say, hey, use me, I'm down, then I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to create this story, through this online testimony, and we're going to just do right here. And everyone's going to share this link, and you're going to give your testimony. You're still being used by God with your gifting and your testimony. So I feel like as much as I expect for the online community to eventually get served and to eventually be present, because here's the thing. It's kind of like in quarantine. Remember, everybody was okay being home for a little while, but then they got this urge. Like, I got to go to a party. I'm not scared. No, I'm going to go to this birthday party. And they went. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing with God, though. If you're online and you're growing, you can't help but want to be around everybody in the body of Christ. You're going to show up to a service. Yeah. You're eventually going to get there. Like, you can't help but want to be around fire. You don't want to be in your house by yourself. So, I feel like me as a pastor, I'll speak for myself. I have a responsibility to create opportunity and avenues and platforms for people to use their gifts. And I'll give you guys an example. So we have a Twilight Treasure team, a Twilight Treasures ministry, and we have it now. Honestly, my evangelism team in my church, banging. Oh man,
they're bad. Yeah, they came here and they're awesome. Yes,
they're bad. And my Twilight Treasures don't go out just co-red. They go out rain or shine, cold or hot. Like, they're faithful. I mean, my God, they're faithful. They're hardcore, like, for real. So thank you, evangelism team, if you're on here. I love you. We appreciate you, me and my wife. But we came with this idea because I'm getting ready to do this sermon, right, on the fourth watch for this prayer encounter with the region. And they say that between the hours of 3 and 6, between 3 and 6, but the hour between 3 and 4 is when the enemy really attacks. Because
3 and 4 p.m. or a.m.?
A.m.
A.m. Okay, that's right.
Because he attacks the most because we're sleeping. And so they're countering us and they're attacking. And Twilight Treasures are out there. They're prostituting. So I said, man, we can't be out there every day. And pimps are always watching out for us. They already know us, So I said, man, we're going to create a QR code, a sticker. And we're going to sabotage it, put Stockton with a dollar sign, and then put the T-O in the money bag for the O, C-K, disguise it. And when the girl sees the QR code, because she's on, let's just be honest, hopefully there's no kids watching, but the girl's on the corner getting ready to get picked up by somebody. She's working, right? She's going to be standing for, let's say, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and she gets her phone and she scans it because it looks different. She scans it. When it pops up on your phone, it's a testimony of a sister sharing the gospel to you. A pimp will never know what that sticker is on that pole. But at 3 a.m, during that fourth watch, right there and then, she can get ministered to, get saved. It shows her where our contact information, and there's no threat to nobody. And it's 7 days a week, 24 hours a day that those corners are being occupied by somebody. And then we switch the sticker out later, put a different sticker. And so we're working all these things. Not everything has been like, I don't have stats for you. But what I'm saying though is like, we why do we put a limit on God? The internet has now allowed us to go into an unlimited and show God's power of how much his word, because really it's going to be his word. Right, it's going to be his word that, and how God's going to use you. Say, man, I was on a corner and I came. It's not even going to be a person witnessing to you. We're never going to get away from that. We're always going to remain with that. Yeah. Sometimes I think people think, oh, get rid of the church and just go online. No, it's not meant to. No, like God doesn't say, oh, it's one or the other. No, God's like, what are you talking about? Don't limit me. Expand. Who knows what's going to happen next, that we're going to have to do even greater things. But I believe but us as a people, especially as pastors, and especially if you're a leader, and especially if you have a heart for souls, then study, read, look, get relevant. Like right now, these are the 2 books I have right now, reading right now. I have 4 other books that I'm reading on just this topic. So I have a total of 6 books right now.
Show them again.
Just this topic alone.
Show them again. People want to screenshot it.
Oh, hold on, I'm getting it right there. Whoops, right there.
I just screenshot it.
I get my nose all in that thing too. So my nose is all in the corner of it. But the idea is this: is like, I'm not just going to use my brain, because my brain's limited. I need your brain, and I need that person's brain, and I need these people's brain, because we're limiting God because of our limit. We can't do that. Souls are dying. People are dying, and because we don't want to grow, or we don't want to stretch. If you're afraid of being sick, and I understand, I get it, but don't let that stop you from saving the sick. No way. We can't do that.
You got to figure out how to catch these fish.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah,
exactly.
Okay, real quick, I want to say this: that if you're watching online, I'm going to introduce you to 2 people right now that I'm giving them the task of helping spearhead this online church, and this is Cassandra and Daniel. And I like their presence. You know what I mean? They have they're young adults. They have a cool presence and all. And
I love this couple though. This is a cool. I'm not just saying it because he's from the Yay area, and she's your daughter. But I love this couple. They're like a cool couple. They're like one of my favorites in all the hours. They're like the new cool couple of the third wave. They really are. They have that. They have that feel. You know what I mean?
Okay, so if you're watching online and you want to be part of the Victor Outreach Hawaiian Islands online church team, let us know on the comments right now. Let us know. Say, hey, I want to help. Maybe you don't come in person, and you say, you know what, I want God to use me. Just because I'm part of the online church, I still want to be used by God. Can you let us know? Say, hey, I want to be used in the online church. Or maybe you do come in person and you say, you know what, I want to be used in the online church also. Let us know, because they need to develop a team that's going to be really focused on us getting better at that. We're not talking about just doing what we're already doing. We're talking about, listen, I want you guys to understand this as Christians, as individuals. You got to make it hard for yourself to backslide. Yeah. Don't make it so easy for yourself to backslide. You know when it's easy to backslide? When you don't have a relationship with God and you're not interacting with the church people. But it's easy to backslide because you could backslide and not even miss church, not even miss God, not even miss the ministry, because while you were attending, you weren't even close anyways. So it's so easy to fall, But if you say, you know what, man, I love spending time with God. I love being in my word. I love talking to God. I love hearing from the Lord in sermons. And I love God's people and the church. And this is my family. The church is my family. I got my biological family I got my spiritual family. And this is what I like saying too. We can't be like family. We have to be family.
That's right.
Don't be like family. Spiritually, in God's eyes, we're family. But so don't make it easy for yourself to leave the Lord and leave the church. But if you're just watching online and you haven't interacted with nobody since God knows when, and maybe your prayer life is a little starving, let me tell you, you're easy prey for the enemy.
That's right.
You're easy prey for the enemy right now. And what I want you to help us do is make it hard for yourself to backslide and make it hard for others to backslide. So how can you do that? You can say, see, any complaint you may have, like, I wish they did this more. Why don't they do that? Don't say they, say why don't we, and help us do those things.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Maybe that's a good idea. Maybe that's a God idea. So get involved. Reach out to Cassandra and Daniel and make sure to let us know that you want to get involved with this. Even your current leadership, that's okay. We want to look and we want to create a structure and of a team that's going to value not just the ministry. Hear this now. We don't just want a media team, online church team that's going to value these ministries that fall under media and online church. We want them to value the people that are behind these screens, because that's what it's about. It's valuing people. God so loved the world, the people of the world. And so as churches, we are here to save souls and to help people do the will of God. And we want to help you do that. And you need to help us do that too, because it's all of us doing that for each other. I hope you were blessed today. Pastor Carlos, if there's any last minute nuggets that I don't, that you said, man, I wish I would have said that, go ahead and I'm going to give you some closing words here.
I think this couple that you have on here they're gonna do an amazing job. They're very creative. They're a very exciting couple. And I think with you as a pastor, like you're willing to do whatever. And I think anyone that's out there, even one of your followers, I think her name was Bella Garana West, says, can I get involved even from out of state? Of course you can. You can get involved even if you were out of the country. Like that's the whole thing. I think if I can say anything, there is no limit to what you can do for God at this point.
Yeah.
Like it is, all limits are off. And I like that. I feel like I don't like being caged. So like now at this point, and my church don't like being caged. They love doing the things of God. It's just get excited about it. And some of us may have got used to being at home. But I even told my rappers, listen, do some rapping about the parables, tell a parable and rap it, and just do a freestyle about a parable and put it online. And you think, oh, that's dumb. That's not dumb. Matter of fact, one of the greats, Carmen, just passed away. And I was a kid. The very first person I ever heard rap was Carmen. He did a song called Resurrection Rap. Oh, it's kind of fire still, I ain't gonna lie to you. Like, he trailblazed, like, back and then. Imagine what you can do today. I think it's just get before God. What do you love to do? Number one. What can you not live without doing? And say, God, give me a plan to be able to do it. And if you like to cook, you can cook online. You can do crafts with kids online. If a kid can play with toys and make millions of dollars, then you can definitely bake, draw, do an activity that can reach millions of kids. Mm-hmm. Who's to say you can't take the gospel viral and do something great for God? I think we need to just be a church without walls, take off all the limits, and let's see how God can blow people away, and then to use us. I mean, we were like, man, like you got, not me, but everyone was like, I was a drug addict, I was a gang, I couldn't even read the Bible, I couldn't even read the ABCs, and God used me. Well, you didn't go to school, you didn't go to college, you didn't graduate, you barely started buying a computer last week. You're gonna be like, God used me when I didn't even know how to turn on my phone, and now I do. Like, I think it's gonna be a very powerful testimony to God.
Yes.
And I think that we're gonna see revival in our churches.
Amen.
For sure. So thank you for having me.
My friend. Thank you.
I love you guys so
much. We
love
you, man. We love you. And listen, if you're watching there, can you and you want to give to the work of God here, Victory Outreach of the Hawaiian Islands? I met with the media team, and they're requesting things to make the media more quality. And I said, yeah, request it, and we're willing to to sow into our media team to make it better and better. And listen, and if you're out there, I want to encourage you to take classes, get trained, and learn programs and learn. You got complaints about sounds? Learn sound yourself. You got complaints about media and the cameras and this happened on YouTube and this happened on the. Why don't you learn it and join the team and help out, because we need help. We need, everybody's just trying to do their best here, but we're willing to sow into it, but also sow in yourself by taking classes, things like that. But if you want to sow too in the ministry, there's different ways that you could give. Here are the 3 ways that you could give from right there where you're at. You could go online, you could give through PayPal, or you could text to give. And of course, also you could look up our address on our website there, and you could mail in an offering or your giving or whatever way you'd like to give. Also, don't forget, we have church every Sunday, church online and in person. And we go online at Sundays at 10 a.m. We also have an in-person service at 1 p.m. And every day we go live. I hope that you were blessed today. I just want to thank God for my friend, Pastor Carlos, Sister Athena, your lovely wife, V.O. Stockton. You guys are beasts for God. Love you guys, man. And thank you once again, my friend.
We love you guys, Big Church, Hawaiian Islands. We love all of you so much. And we can't wait to be out there with you guys again one day soon.
Amen. God bless you guys. Aloha. Aloha, everybody.